everybody, and welcome back to the Manga Monday show here on the Weird Science Manga and Anime Podcast. I'm here, as always, with my man, Luke Hollywood. What up, Luke?
Fresh off the holidays.
Yes, it's Luke Holiday is what I think it is. And speaking of which, I will let everybody know that Luke had such a crazy holiday that when he came back, he fell asleep on Sunday night when we were recording a bunch of things, and now has to go to the airport tomorrow. So all of that ties into the deal where our manga reading clubs will return next week. I have some plans of maybe putting up some things that we have way back in the can, as they say in certain circles, but some things that we might put up in the next couple days to kind of have something else on the feed. But with all of that, we will return next week with the reading clubs full force with all of those. But with all of that, while Luke was gone on holiday, that seemed like you were gone for a year, you ended up, and also seems to be sick tonight. You got the sniffles, they say.
Whoopsies.
But with all of that, we end up having a bunch of books that are lukewarm off the presses. They're not exactly hot off the presses now because they have been out a bit, but we are going to do some of the new things that came out in Shonen Jump and even stuff on Manga Plus. And we're going to go in order. We're not. This order isn't the order of best to last, whatever.
The greatest hits.
This is release order. There are some bangers in these new ones. And maybe
not here.
Maybe we would have been better served to skip this one, but it doesn't feel right to skip it because it would have been hot off the press if you weren't on your holiday. We wouldn't have even known at the time. We would have went into that. I don't know who greenlit this one, but what is it, Luke?
This is the slightly warm off the presses Aliens Areas, not arenas, Aliens Area.
How dare you?
Indeed. Written and drawn by Fusai Naba, first published in the Weekly Shonen Jumps number 27 in 2022, which was a couple of weeks back now at this stage. Fusai Naba previously had a couple of one-shots and short series. And when I say short series, I'm talking like 3 chapters. There wasn't a lot going on here.
Now, were they planned? Do you know if they were planned to be that short, or they're just like, you don't have it, buddy?
I don't know if this was like an ongoing story and they pulled the plug.
Is there such thing as like a U4? Never heard of that.
We're talking like short stuff here. So, and it was a Jump Geiger joint, and that's like every 4 months. So that's very short. Really. I don't know what happened necessarily, but it is the first time in the big leagues for an ongoing series here for Fusai Naba. And I don't know if he's batting the home runs necessarily, but we'll see what we're going on here, I suppose.
I'd love to say that you just don't know about baseball, but you're kind of right.
I've been reading the 9 Dragon Balls
parade. You're still, what are you, going back and you're lapping the book, you're rereading it over and over and over? Is that it for the intro?
No stage plays, no nothing.
You mean, well, the funny thing is, in a roundabout deal, you don't realize this was adapted into a movie, Men in Black.
Oh, really?
That's all this is. I mean, really, if you want to pretend that Men in Black was adapted, it really works out.
I hear a lot of people comparing it in the comments, believe it or not.
Yeah, and people in the comments over on the Manga Plus are comparing it to a bunch of things, including One Piece, including Parasite, including a bunch of things. Yeah. So you have a lot of stuff going on where it does feel like when you read this, it's not really that original. You get this idea of, melting pot without anything being that original.
No flavor,
something that doesn't end up making it stick out. And the problem is they go so far into it just being Men in Black that you're waiting for some sort of twist that changes that up, and it never comes. And then they end up adding more men. By the end, I shook my head. I'm like, really? Like, you're really going that far? Do you think, and this happens a lot, especially nowadays, where I think that some people end up thinking that, oh my God, something that came out in the 80s, nobody's going to remember that 80s, 90s type
deal. Men in Black ain't that old.
No, and it's kind of popular.
Indeed.
And people know. And when you do this, maybe me and you start writing a manga, and I have something from the movie Bloodsport. Like, just imagine, I love Bloodsport.
Oh, yeah, classic.
And I think of something, well, nobody ever says about this, and it's funny, but we'll change it up, but I'm going to use that vibe. But there's some things in Men in Black that are so big and really connected to Men in Black. One of them being that you shine a light on people so that their memory gets wiped so they don't know anything about aliens. That's a pretty big deal. You get that in this. That's too much. It's too far.
The thing is, like, is Men in Black a big deal in Japan? You know, like maybe
I don't know.
Like, we might have not. You have the blood sport in the Americas. Maybe we don't have the blood sports in Ireland.
Let me check something. Let me run. I'm going to run over. I'm at my window now, Luke. I'm not in Japan.
Whoa.
This is something that's going to be all over the place. Not just
Will
Japan.
Smith
I know that
speak Japanese. I don't know.
Japan
necessarily
is the big market. But still, there has to be people in Japan is like, oh my God, this is Men in Black.
But maybe they're cracking the code like nobody's seen this Men in Black business in here, so we do it in the
I don't know. The problem is that we say Men in Black because I can't see how you would read this and not say that. But other people, like we said, are saying One Piece. I mean, I think that people in Japan might know about that. Maybe a couple, One Piece, right?
Just a little.
But even then, there's a bunch. Parasite. People are mentioning this, that. Nobody in my mind are saying, except one guy in the comments, boy, this is original. Like, well, where did they come from?
People say, oh, interesting. It reminds me of all these things. Not interesting because it's a good story, you know?
All of that said and done, we're going to try to have fun with this. And maybe we'll point out some of the positives as well. But with all of that, you also get the play and you get people who want to jump on this and say, listen, why? Because this was the first one that came out. You know, after, say, the cancellation of Ayashimon.
The pain is still there.
Yeah, the idea that this has replaced Ayashimon in their mind of just getting all upset about that, this would have come out eventually at any point, just because it gets thrown in that slot. We talk about this all the time.
Got the axe for this?
I don't think that you could just go down the line and just pretend that that's the deal anyway. But yeah, you end up where something being canceled is canceled on its own merits or lack of, and then you get the next one. That doesn't mean that they said, well, this aliens area, this is so great, it has to replace that. No, unfortunately, Ayashimon didn't seem to be catching on in Japan, whatnot, so that gets canceled. I don't know that this will either. I think that there's a big problem, and a lot of people have pointed out the idea of Shonen Jump right now. You do have some really big series ending. What is going to replace them?
What's the next heavy hitter?
You have some big things, but not as big as the ones that are going to eventually
Sakamoto Days is pretty good, but is it going to fill the My Hero Academia shoes? I don't know.
And you end up having even the idea eventually come. You know, One Piece will be ending however long it takes, but it's not going to go on forever. And so, is Aliens Area going to replace that? Like,
we already got a Luffy right
banger.
here, you know, with the stretchy arms. Bada bing.
Exactly. Or, you know, all these things, Jujutsu Kaisen, all these, you know, there's some bangers, but a lot of these are ending or have ended, you know, like a Demon Slayer, stuff like that. So what is replacing these? And some of this new crop, it's falling. The crop's failed.
Uh-oh.
I mean, it's not really doing well. We keep getting these new ones since, say, even like Red Hood. And, you know, you're a hoodie. You'll have the Red Hood or Neru, stuff that even then, like, people were talking about Neru. Oh, this feels classic. Maybe this will be the one. And they just kind of, nothing's really catching on.
I don't know if they're necessarily giving them the space to breathe, though. I thought Ayashimon got the plug pulled out pretty quick. I
actually liked Ayashimon better than Doron. I actually thought that it was interesting, but it's still needed to
if you have a couple of down chapters, you are done.
And is that the idea? Should we be happy about that? Maybe that's the way of like, hey, this isn't going to replace these big ones. We need to find the next big one. But I wish we knew what was in waiting and whatnot. But this one it feels old already.
They can't all be baggers.
Like nothing's going on. I saw some people liking the art, and I don't really love the art anyway.
My cup of tea.
When you jump into it, you get this first page, this color page that explains the deal. And it says, the people of Earth don't have technology to travel to other planets with intelligent life. I'm thinking, can they go to the dumb ones then? I don't know. But if the denizens of other planets possess the technology to come to Earth, they could commit any heinous acts they want. And Earthlings would be unable to do anything to stop them. Lawless zones like that are called Aliens Area.
That's pretty sus.
Even a little convoluted way of describing it.
I had to read that a couple of times to figure out what was going on.
I mean, really what you have to say, and I think that the play here, unfortunately, I think that the real, to me, the beginning is, hey, listen, aliens sometimes come to Earth. We have an organization set up that stop them. and keep them out of the, press, and normal people don't understand or know that. That's two men in black, but that's what it is. And so it's like a weird roundabout way to explain something that, it's just Men in Black.
Have you seen the movie Men in Black?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we're
they
doing.
Really could say that because, this really is, hey, did you know? And if I wanted to compare things when everybody's coming up with combos of what this is, I said it's like Men in Black, Jujutsu Kaisen, because you do have a person who ends up kind of having this thing inside him, an alien thing inside him. You end up having an organization that brings him in, and he's going to have. So that's how I go with. I'm not saying that you have combos like this that couldn't be fun. By the end, you don't get much of this chapter because you start out and you're introduced to Tatsumi Tatsunami, is it sounds so much like that. Matsuba High School third year.
Oh,
now with that, does that really play out that much? I mean,
you
end
very
up
little school shenanigans.
Yeah, because this kid, he ends up having to take care of his little brother and sister because their mom and dad seem to be dead, and we find out they did die in this, disaster that ended up giving this deal. But even in that, he's at school. Some guys, hey, aren't you on the sports scholarships? You going to the colleges? I don't think so. I got to get to work. I don't even get by the end. Does this guy have like 8 jobs?
Rise and grind.
And even then, like one job, the people are nice to him. Hey, buddy, what's up? We're going to give you some rice. Hey, this other one's going to fire him because he starts shaking and drops a plate. I'm like, is that the same place or is it not? I don't know. I'm getting confused as we go. But even then, you try to give a little personality. It looks like he's Frankenstein. He's got the stitches going on his forehead. Like, I don't know. What's happening? So he ends up at this job. He goes, hey, what's up, boss? And I love this boss says, the gem boss. Hey, and he's always screaming, you going to college? No, I don't know. Oh, man, the kids, they never learn. You should go to college, buddy. And then yells for his mom. Hey, Ma, get out here. She comes out with some, here you go. And off he goes. I'm like, what just happened? What just happened in this? And I'm not getting it. Nothing in this, in my mind, settles down enough for me to actually understand what you're trying to do and to get attached to the characters.
You don't really problem. You have all this page space used to kind of get to know Jimmy Jim, Tatsumi, Tatsunami. But by the end of the chapter, do you necessarily have a good feel for him?
Or
I don't
do you
really
care for him. And
not really.
And the weird play is the big play here is supposed to be, okay, and this is what I think goes through the editor's mind and, the creator. Okay, well, he is a kid who would have a good future ahead of him, a bright future, but unfortunately, his parents ended up dying, and he has to take care of his younger brother and sister. First off, I don't know how things go in Japan as compared to, say, in the U.S. or maybe Ireland, but maybe they should be getting some help here. I mean, this is a high school student who ends up having 2 little youngsters there as brother and sister, and he has to work 80 jobs, go to school, and yet you're supposed to believe that he's taking good care of these little kids. Like, what happens when he's at work and all these things? It just, nothing is spelled out. It's just there. And I don't know about you, but when the kids come, they seem to be drawn in a different style a bit.
They don't necessarily look like kids. I'm telling you, like, that kid's pants... That's thrown me off from day one.
He looks like a grandpa, jacked up pants. He's there, and the little sister, they end up looking like almost at the end, where he's like, oh my God, I have to end up taking care of my brother and sister. And you have somebody there saying, who are you talking about? There's nobody here. And we find out ghost kids. Like, I'd be like, all right, this seems like the imagination.
I'll do you one better, considering this is aliens area. These freaky looking kids, they could be aliens the whole time. We wouldn't even know.
The way they play out like that, I'll go with your way. That they're there watching in case he ends up with his alien tech in him. He actually activates so they can call in the troops, all the alien troops. But they come in, it almost feels like even then, you're almost like you can tell your hands being held to go, okay, I didn't really do much to give you any sort of feels for Tatsumi. So what I'm going to have to do is get cute little kids. They go too cute here with the art. But also I have to also throw in, by the way, their parents died horrifically. All right, here we go. This is a lot of fun.
On the heartstrings.
Yeah, really. But this is where, in the Western style, and this might offend some people or whatnot, but it reminds me of some of the newer people who write, say, a Tom King at DC, where he always has this tragedy, and that's the only way he knows how to try to get you attached to the characters. But if that doesn't do it for you, you're done, because that's what you're going to get. You don't get a lot of character moments. You get this deal where they spend a bit of time with the kids, and the idea, well, and even then, not really spelling out. You have the sister, Sachi, who ends up having a backpack. You have Taro's like, oh man, I want a backpack, and she's not allowed to have the backpack at the dinner table. And the big play here is that Tatsumi can't afford two backpacks, so he starts to try to. But it gets lost, and I want to say lost in the translation, but it's not a translation problem. It gets lost in just this scene where even at the point where it's happening, he is barely reacting. He seems tired. He seems bored, but you don't know why. He just seems like he's not enjoying his life with his little brother and sister.
Yeah, and he's like, he gets a smile on his face when he's with his family. He doesn't seem like these punk kids better take off their backpacks.
At that one point when was to, was not, and he's just like pushing the little boy away.
Back to work.
And they're fighting. He's like, this is what, and he says, I need another job. He doesn't mean to get money. He means to get away from these brats. But even then, it's like, I don't get, I want to see something. I want to see when we've had a bunch of things like this where you end up with one of the kids, like the girls, like, we better be nice because, our big brother here, he's doing the best that he can. And I miss mom. And it could give us real heartstrings, not the deal. You could even have the deal where he puts the, no backpack. Just have the deal where he puts down the meal and they're like, oh, man, udon noodles again. We don't mom used to make us rice. And then he's like, I wish I could make you rice. And then you might get
potatoes instead.
You got the potatoes. Man, tell that, it just, nothing hits. It's just thrown in. I don't get a reaction. You end up, hey, here's the big thing. Hey, let's eat. I'm hungry. Did you pay respects yet? Not yet. Let's hurry. They walk over, kneel down at the shrine. You see one panel of the mom and dad. You can get the idea. Okay, it's the mom and dad. And then they just run back. I'm like, it's not enough. And so as you go through here, you're going to fight about this backpack nonsense.
This is pages and pages worth it. And it's all right, but it could just be done so much more succinctly.
So easily done in a more clear-cut way.
And really have a good connection to the characters and really make us care about them.
Yeah,
we're getting pages and pages of this family shenanigans, and I still don't care about Tatsumi.
No, I really, because he's like, and he says that backpack costs 30,000 yen, which was more than I expected. I need another job. That's not emotional there. I mean, change that around to, I hope that, Taro thinks that it's true what I said, because I really want to get him one too. It's not fair he doesn't have one, but I just can't afford it right now. But I will go get another job just to get him that. Something along those lines.
It feels like it's going through the motions, and maybe that's to show off that, okay, this is going to be crazy by the end, but that's at the end. We have to get through the whole chapter before we get to anything crazy.
I mean, we're not that far in at this point, but still, you really haven't gotten me into these characters. And we talk about, you're either going to do character work or, world building, story. Obviously that's what you would do. But usually in these, sometimes you'll get a first chapter where you're like, well, you just set up, some of these, you'll set up the actual story in the last 3 pages. But the other 50, character work, where you're like, I don't care what's going on. I care about these characters. I think they're cool. I think they're nice. I think that this is great. But in this, you're really trying to push character work, and I'm not getting any. And that means wasted space, because then he goes off to another job. He's at a ramen place. I didn't even know at first that it was him. And so, it's him. Okay. He starts getting upset, and this is the setup. Something's wrong with his innards, but it's not played out well. You should have set this up a bit where his hand starts shaking. He drops a bowl. The bowl shatters, and you end up having this boss. Oh, man, what's that? Is this the first time he did it? Is it the 5th? Is it whatever? And in that, he cuts his hand. This is where maybe you could start getting intrigued, but I didn't even know what was happening with that hand. I mean, it's supposed to be blood, gnarly, but it's just like bubbling. It's smoking. And you have a girl that comes in. Oh, my God, are you all right? He looks like she must see the hand because he's kind of like it's there. When is she going to say your hand is somewhat on fire and you got a healing factor?
Yo, what is going on with that hand, Buster?
And she just says, oh, my God, let me see, because he cut it pretty bad. But it's smoking. I mean, is it old enough to smoke? I don't know.
Uh-oh.
But you end up where she grabs it.
She drops the cup, too.
Yeah, she drops the thing and goes, oh, my God, it's healed up. How is that possible? That just gets pushed aside.
Oh.
I mean, because the boss comes in like, oh, my God, you broke another deal. You're fired. But where is it where this girl's like, you're a freak. Burn this witch on a stake. Like,
arrest this man.
Yeah, I mean, what is the reaction of, what are you, a magician? What are you doing, street magic?
Maybe she should be going, boss, forget about selling the noodles. We can do a freak show with this guy. Will make millions.
We got ourselves a Chris Angel here. Let's start mind freaking everybody. I mean, really, she just says, oh my God, it healed. And then he goes, oh yeah, I got hurt in a fire at our house way back ever since. What? That doesn't, to somebody that just says, you were just cut horrifically. That doesn't make sense. That's what they think is setting up this nonsense. But you end up, well, dishes cost money, you're fired. And then the girl says, but I dropped this one.
You're fired too.
The healing itself isn't new, but this strange feeling is. I'm not worried about that right now. Right now, the whole play was he has two little kids, brother and sister, that rely on him. He ended up already saying he needs another job. I don't know how many jobs he has presently, but he just got fired from one.
Uh-oh.
This should be where I am worried, where if the characters were set up and the, brother and sister, I should be there. Oh my God, what's Taro and Sachi going to do? How is he going to make up for this? What's going to happen?
Better return that backpack.
Again, it's like everything is an overdrive to move on. And I don't mind a pacing that's, balls to the wall here. But you're not letting anything sink in.
It feels really, like we're kind of half establishing everything when we should really be, if we slowed it down a little and gave us a chance to really sink it in, but we're just going boom, 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 scene.
By the end, he gets the opportunity. I mean, just think of, say, a Chainsaw Man, where by the end, where they get, hey, you want to join up? We're going to come. You can come with me as my dog or die as a demon. Oh, what do I get? Well, you get all the food. But remember that whole deal of, oh my God, that's my dream to eat the toast and because it really hit. You're like,
had so much more emotion.
And
so much
at the end
connection.
of this, he seems to be being able to be set up to the dream job that might take care of his family, his younger brother and sister. You never get a reaction. When you end up here where he loses a job, we should be like, oh my God, what is he going to do? Like almost making it, I think that the play is to make him so desperate that he joins the Men in Black at the end. But that's not enough. Like you're just like, okay. And then he's off to the doctor. Now, in that, I don't know that I'm going to the doctor if I'm him because that this is not normal.
This ain't something the human body does.
No. And so what happens when somebody might go to the doctor?
Pretty sus-looking doctor, by the way.
Yeah, really, I know. Look at this dude. But imagine this again. He goes to the doctor. Hey, doctor, get this. After this fire I was in, I ended up, if I cut myself, I can take a finger off. It grows back. What do you think? There's the danger of them, like, and this is how you get like an ET or whatever. They may take him away. They may come and get him. So then what happens to his younger brother and sister? Also, the idea that he is, again, I don't know what's going on in Japan, but the idea that you might want to keep things quiet. You might be on the down low because if somebody finds out, you may have your younger brother and sister be put in the foster care system because you're not old enough. You're only a high schooler to take care. And he would probably be in the system as well. And you don't want your family separated. There's been a lot of stories like that you're like, oh my God, what the? But he's just staring at his hand and he goes to this doctor. Oh, are you working too hard? The doctor then just says you're fine. And it might be psychological. I'm like, no, I kind of thought I saw this guy's hand.
It don't look psychological
and stuff. So he walks out and he's kind of like, oh, well. Also the idea, does he have insurance? Can he pay for this? Is this going to cause problems? He comes out and he ends up being approached by, I don't even know how to explain or describe this guy.
Very extra looking dude.
Very young, very odd. He ends up having the slash on his forehead. He's like, the manga Harry Potter's.
He's got the walking sticks.
He's got a walking stick. He comes out flashing badges, and he's like, hey, it's pretty tough when the doctor's giving up, right? Without even trying to understand what? There's nothing to understand.
The weird hand action.
So he's like, who are you? My name is Hajime Asharaku, and what I want to do for you to voluntarily come with me. And he's like, go with him, a police badge. Is he a detective? I really want this to be back to, I cannot leave my younger brother and sister. I got to get out of here. They know something. What's going on? Because it ends up where he's like, oh, it must be painful to recall, but it's about, that fire 6 years ago. So he ends up thinking, oh my God, I wanted him to get the hell out of there so quick because I thought that, oh my God, they think I started the fire. And runs out.
I want to take the kids in.
Yeah, this is just this idea of, okay, let's see what happened back then. And he says, I saw a shining light. The investigator said I was in shock. All this stuff going on where he seemed to have been possessed by aliens. That's what the whole play is.
Aliens and they ended up area.
Really. And in that, I wanted it to be not as it's weird. Like he ended up being saved from the fire. But then the roundabout explanation of, those aliens, they come down and just give you things and they're testing people.
It's a very matter of fact.
Yeah, I wanted it to be like somebody thought something like, oh man, this is a shame, and say maybe the aliens aren't so bad or whatnot. But the play here, at least in this first chapter, is just they do their experiments.
Well, it just seems like this was like a Tuesday for it. Like it's not so special,
aliens, right?
Look, there's a kid in a big fire. Let's just give him magic hand powers, as you do.
With that. This guy, and again, it's Hajime. He's like, so won't you come with me? And the Tatsumi goes, no. There isn't even well, you don't get a choice. I was being nice, but really you don't, because by the end, it doesn't seem, he does have a choice, but the choice really is, you better come with us, whatnot. He just ends up, as he's walking away, just thinks of, hey, back in the day, had the fire, I saw light, I was okay. But what has he done since then with this healing factor? Is he doing weird things? We see the idea that he has a cut on his forehead. And I'm guessing that's supposed to show you that the healing factor is just in the hand, whatever So he goes back to the apartment, and sus guy's hanging out. This guy looks like he's like, hey, is there a Pearl Jam concert around here with me and my flannel? And just standing around? Look at this guy.
They're not just standing right in front. It's sus enough to be in the complex.
And he's bendy weird, man. Right? And he's standing there. And the weird play is who's that guy? Now, again, this is probably what my play would be. I would walk over to the door, pretend I don't see him, but that doesn't really play out very well. I mean,
he is right on top. It's not like he's just hovering. He is on you while you're opening the door. That is messed up.
When somebody's on you, you're afraid that if you open the door, he's probably going to push himself in. You should be like, hey, what up, guy? What's up with you there, pal? What's going on?
And then
run down and get the superintendent deal or whatever. Jeez. And say, you got to come and check out this guy. Or maybe oh man, I forgot. I would be oh, forgot my key. But then again, are you supposed to be all right, maybe the kid, but they come, he knows that they're not there. They come in later. So he ends up, what's this guy doing? He's weird. He must be mental. And then he goes in, and then we have sus girl on the opposite side of the room. And now this other guy follows him in because I guess he wasn't smart enough to lock the door, but he ends up going in. And then all of a sudden they start looking really weird. But again, is it one of those where I would say, oh my God, the character design is so cool. I'm I don't know what's going on.
It's Mr. Lanky and Miss Lanky.
Yeah. I'm what is that? Sylvester Stallone? What are we, Rocky now? So he ends up and they end each other's sentence, but it's we want to talk. Oh no. And I love that they're just there. And he's they're blocking the door and the window. Better get out my phone. Oh no. No signal. The girl touches the wall and it shatters in a way that whatever. And then he ends up, the wall was crushed with the touch of a finger. Oh no, what is going on with my hand?
Arthritis.
And then he starts saying, yeah, my hand is shaking. I'm you probably peed and pooped your pants already too. So I can get an idea why it's shaking. But he says, oh, it's worse than ever. And then this alien guy in the flannel, That's what we want. It is too precious for an earthling to have. And so, okay, let's see what's happening. But his arm then becomes just black. He ends up having problems, and then there's an explanation
now
from
we get
the
like
girl
the
alien.
Wikipedia entry.
What is this explanation?
Jeez.
I mean, she says, allow me to explain. I'm like, please. And I thought she meant like why I'm reading this. But she says, allow me to explain. Radio waves and electromagnetic waves interfere with each other because many forms of energy travel in three-dimensional space and in similar types of waves.
Oh.
And I love that you end up having Tatsumi's like, what the hell is this about? And I'm like, at least somebody else is, with me, because I don't know. Even an earthling should be able to understand that. Your right hand's poor condition is the result of interference from outer space energy. Outer space?
What?
An outer space substance was embedded inside you, and I have no qualms in killing you to extract it. It's thrown at you. And there's no way to actually get this all in my mind. Some people may disagree and like this, but I'm like, really? The joke was you're going to explain it in a way that an earthling can't understand it. Unfortunately, I'm an earthling. And I'm like, yeah, okay,
well,
whatever.
It is just like shoved down your throat. There is nothing even. So like she said, allow me to explain. Like really, we're just going to get 3 pages of this.
3 pages and with art that's really boring. You're not doing much. You have people. He's looking at his hand. He's
time to fall asleep on the bus.
When his hand turns black like this, the only setup to this so far. Oh my God! I'm cleaning a bowl. My hand's shaky like it gets sometimes. I feel weird. I cut my hand and it healed. So you need more than that to then just say, by the way, there's alien energy, outer space energy in your hand. And then all of a sudden it turns black and it goes to town, because what happens then, because you need something to, charge him up, even though it's already starting to change. His brother and sister come home. His little brother and sister come home. They scream. And the aliens grab them. And it's that male alien in the flannel.
Uh-oh.
And he picks them up by the head, where I'm like, they're already dead. I mean, seriously, you don't pick somebody up like that. They're done.
You got them bendies.
People out there are a wrestling fan. I've told this story many a time, but my son, Rafe, one of my 5 sons, Rafe, and please, every time I say that, I'm like, what was I thinking? We ended up going, he was a big wrestling fan, a WWE wrestling fan, and we went to a show nearby, and we got the tickets, we went, and we actually were near ringside, but we were also on, like, the ramp. We were right at the edge there, and the great Khali, if you know this guy, he came out. This guy's like 7'4", he's huge, and so he's going, and kids, and my son Rafe, he loved every wrestler. So, oh my God, Great Khali. And Great Khali went and rubbed his head. And when he did, his hand was my son Rafe's head was like a grape. And I actually had one of my only panic attacks I've ever had at that point, because I just saw this guy who, if he ended up getting a spasm, he would have popped his head. And that's what this reminds me of. Like, oh my goodness. That's why I like the idea. You do have the reaction, but it's like, that creep,
they're going to get crushed.
Yeah, and then you end up where they've seen me now, so now they need to die. At that point, we don't even know what that means. You know what I mean? You have to explain things. You have to set these things up. We need the emotions.
He doesn't look necessarily too crazy, he doesn't look like a bot. Well, he looks pretty freaky, but he's not a monster.
He looks freaky, but again, at this point, if they ended up he ends up beating him, they go, what's the deal? These things should know, if they go, oh my God, we saw this guy with these big eyes, and they'd be like, what are you on drugs? Or who cares? But
it's just kids,
end up where, I mean, the kids are crying, oh my God, but I don't like to see little kids die, obviously. So, maybe some. You end up, no, I wouldn't. You end up, though, I don't have a connection.
No. You would care more if all you knew about them wasn't just that they have the backpacks.
We are really crapping on this book. I really apologize if you liked it. But when you have that, again, it almost feels like I can break the fourth wall and see the creator there saying, "Ooh, I'll get them here," because nobody wants little kids. It's not well done.
That's where it just feels false.
Yeah, you're not. It feels very forced and false. It does. It feels like, okay, this is the generic way to try to get people involved. You didn't go and do your own steps. You didn't end up. So with that, even at this point, we're not even at the point that it's full Men in Black yet. And if it was going to be something that I thought was really good, the Men in Black stuff, you can roll your eyes at the end, but nothing was set up in this point to make me really get involved. So when you get the Men in Black, it's so over the top that you're like, really? Like after all that nonsense, then we just get Men in Black? Like, really? That's what you're trying to do here? Because you end up then where you get Luffy deal, where it is stretchy arm. Again, before he dropped the bowl and things, I would have liked to have seen him somewhere at some point think that this has happened before. I don't understand. Maybe it stretched a little, but here he reacts, and it's subconscious deal because of the fact that his brother and sister are going to get killed.
He has to reach them in time, but he's not going to make it until his arm gets all stretchy.
It gets stretchy. He punches this guy, this alien that we find out. The alien then flies through the door, which I swear to God was a bed. Then you end up, and I also think that the layout, I don't want to get too deep, it seemed like the layout of the apartment changed slightly, but even then, you get this guy punched, then you get the look where I swear it must be fabric, but to me it looks like fire. Everything is weird. And then you get a weird deal of this alien flying through the parking lot like he's a bowling ball.
Ping pong effect.
Yeah, ping pong, but I don't get the full effect of it. He hits the wall on the opposite side. I want to know who's paying for that, automobile. And you end up then where the arm then stretches back into his sleeve and into just being a regular arm, which again, I thought it took a little too long. And then he says, "What was this?" And then you just get the lady who turns real ugly, almost looks like a Mon Calamari if you are a Star Wars fan.
It's a trap.
And then yells, "It's a big hand." Actually yells "foul monkey." And gets big hand like it's Dave Grohl in the Everlong video from the Foo Fighters. Starts slapping the crap out of this guy.
City.
Tatsumi. It's Slap City. But that doesn't really do anything. Then you end up having this where I thought it was one of the kids, but it's this girl there who says, "How dare a maggot from Earth do that to my kind?" She's crying, but I don't know why. And then I can't move. And the big play is I need to do something because if I don't, my little brother and sister are going to die. He says he can't move. Oh, my God. And this girl's going to take advantage of that. In the meantime, you find out that Taro, his little brother, is a moron who does not follow instructions well, he crawls over.
This is supposed to be like the big feels like, he's
I
not
get a little from
the
this.
family. Really? Because I'm like, this dumb kid better get his skates on.
Come on, boy, get out of here. I mean, he comes over and it's like, go run, get help, run fast, call for help. Big bro, you're a big boy, you can do it. And then comes and hugs him. I'm like, what? And if that was the case where in that,
they're all dead.
He does end up kind of, but why can't this be something? I don't know how you tie it in because I don't know what the hell's going on in this book, but this is the sort of thing that kind of activates or replenishes his chi. The idea that there's, I don't know, but you come over and I'm like, now you're all going to die. I mean, seriously? Now we're going to have ghost kids. But you end up where at that point, he's like, "You idiot, just go." And there's the eye crying. I mean, one of the weirdest panels. And then you end up, I'm the idiot, he says. "I can't die and leave them alone. I must protect Taro and Sachi," because of the idea, the little girl Sachi, she is like almost, it just, and then he's like, "Come on, right hand, do your thing." He's yelling this, where you end up where the alien then says, "Oh, what are you, silly? That's technology. And technology operates by precise mechanisms." And then thank God, I mean, for this, they're going to die. I mean, you end up getting Hajime, who I would really, really test everybody. Do you know his name when he comes back? You wouldn't, because you never set him up. And he might hit this girl in the back of the head with this cane. Something's going on with the cane. And she kind of gets a little bit taken, like, oh man, like loses her. I don't know. And then you have the Hajime who's like all smiles. "I apologize for getting here so late." Oh my. Then you have an attack. He pulls out a rubber band. You end up having a rubber band.
But not just any rubber band.
This thing could get big and do this. Look at this. I'm playing hula hoops with this thing.
Whoa.
It's got bigger. What is going on in this thing?
What the heck?
Holy moly, please. If this is the first time you're listening to us, we do love manga. Please go back and listen to some other random Manga Monday. I guarantee you that as long as Luke, Mark, or Monty didn't pick it, we love it. You just go back.
Bagger guaranteed.
This is not good. And yeah, you end up where it's a rubber band. It's stretching and big.
Space rubber band.
It's a space rubber band.
Is that what it's going to be? Like this whole, it's not just any space arm. Oh boy.
I'm putting space between me and this book. Katsumi yells, more space stuff? Seriously?
Indeed,
and then
seriously.
You end up where, out of nowhere, a bunch of people in suits come running in.
The rest of the FBI men in black come in.
Shiraku, who is Hajime, Shiraku has a perp. Let's go. And then you end up with this. I don't know, because then you end up having the Men in Black come in, and you end up, and really with that, what I think that Hajime, I just thought of it, because you have the Men in Black, this team, but Hajime looks like, for some reason, looks like something out of like Dr. Stone, like just hanging out. Like, hey, look at me. Ends up with this stupid cane. Says, okay, you have two options. We could, and even this is, I think, relying on knowing this trope. You know, you can erase your memory right now, and we'll make it look like a gas explosion, and you could get back to your whole deal. Or you can come and join us in Foreign Affairs 5.
Whoa.
And we'll give you a job. And not even at one point does he think like, okay, what does that job mean? Well, it means you'll get this money. And he's like, I really don't want to do this, but my brother and sister,
money's his
I want to give them things, right? I want to be able to help them. Not at one point, like this in my mind, when you have an alien tech arm that stretches and goes, it's fantastic, this thing. Whoa. You end up where I would have this question like, what happens to my brother and sister? Are they allowed to come with me? Because I'm getting, in my mind, I'm going to have to go with you and live somewhere else and whatnot. Because am I going to bring my brother and sister? And if they say no, then flash away, because I'm not leaving them. But you don't get that. You don't even get, I could really get some things for you guys. You don't have the things. And the weird play is that when you do this, I don't know if it makes sense or how it's going to play out. The little brother looks like he looks and sees that light. I mean, he is looking over the shoulder.
He wasn't the smartest anyway, so maybe that's not a big loss.
I haven't read anything but this, and you have a couple chapters out, so maybe that's explained or whatever, maybe it's a goof. But you end up where it's Men in Black, because out of nowhere, they come running in. We got a perp. So they have an alien wrapped up in rubber band in the room,
rubber
right?
Band.
In the meantime, you also have a door that's blown off the hinges and a guy who's knocked over 80 cars and he's smashed around. And they're just kind of dealing with this rubber band. So people are like, what the hell is going on? You have all these people that, well, I'm the next door neighbor. What's going on? And they aren't aliens. They're normies. Hey, everybody, look at this shiny thing I'm going to... It's Men in Black. it just doesn't have a pen. It's like a little squeezy thing. Looks like one of them stress balls. Look at me. I got the stress ball. Look at this. And so they say, you can look at the light and you'll never remember this and we'll just go on our way. Or you can come with us. Now, with that, would they just leave him go? He has this alien tech. They seem to be trying to figure out this thing. They might as well just say, listen, we can squeeze the ball. You look at it. We're going to come and dissect you. And get, like, what is the deal
you ain't
here?
going to have a hand.
I really
when we
don't think that there's a return to normal life when you have this alien
He's
hand.
done either way.
Right? That they say we're looking into this at that point.
It's just nice to have the option.
I guess. I want them to say like, but even then, you end up like everything's just thrown at you. And like, hey, the aliens implanted substances in some people and returned them to normal life. We theorized they were conducting biological research much in the same way we implant devices in animals. And that even seems like, I want to say like, man, you're a sleeper agent, dude. You better watch out. Like, but no, it's these experiments. So what's the experiment with them? They want to see how his hand stretches. Performing memory wipe. Even then, when these aliens come down, didn't seem like they were like, okay, test is over. They seem like, are they side aliens?
It was somebody else completely.
Remember, we want that tech. You don't deserve that tech. Well, he was given it by aliens. So what's the deal there? Maybe these are some questions that I should say Maybe they're a little intriguing.
Not enough to, be the hook of the premise.
It's like, I'd like you to work with us in preserving coexistence between aliens and Earthlings, men in black. It's a nice, stable government job. And so you have that. This guy has been thinking to himself this whole time, I need another job. He just got fired from a job. He ends up needing to take care of his brother and sister. And coexistence between Earthlings and aliens? I want this to be the setup where he'll do anything. And I really want it to look really, like, make it sus at the beginning. Like, oh, man, he shouldn't agree to that. Look at this guy. He's got a scar on his head.
He's doing bad jobs.
Like, why are you trusting this guy? He's got the London Fog jacket and a freaking cane. Like, nobody's going to... No, what?
He'd be more concerned with having, he'd be like, money's his money's at the end. When he's thinking coexistence between Earthlings and aliens, why does he care?
Why does he care about that?
Nothing to do with it. The whole time he's been looking for the jobs. He should be like, government jobs, that's pretty... He should be thinking, does that include dental? And that should be the end.
Hey, can I go to the doctor to see about this shaky hand? I mean, even if the idea he has lost a job and seemed to really, like, when he got that last shaky hand that he dropped before he ended up in beginning and stretching, he's like, oh man, he felt so bad and didn't feel right that he went to the hospital, to the doctor. Isn't there something like, well, can you heal me from this? Like, can I get rid of... I don't think he wants it. Like, can you do that? Plus, at the end, again, you're plowing through this, and I guess you don't have enough time, but when is he ever going to say, like, hey, Taro and Sachi, are you okay? Like, I mean, this alien had him, both of them were hanging up by in the palm of that guy's hand. I wish that he would have said, like, wait a second, I want to make sure they're okay. Yeah, we're fine. Oh my God, that was fun, big brother. Oh my God, you're a dummy. And then, like, you have this where he already said no. You end up where I'm thinking that Hajime, must be smart enough. Why don't you get the angle of, listen, this is a government job. You'll be able to take care of your brother and sister better than you ever would. Like, even that would have been something to, oh yeah, okay. That's why he changed it. That's why he wanted to do this. But no,
some motivation.
Everything is, and that's the problem. The motivations are non-existent. The character work is nil. You end up, I mean, even at the one point where he says the aliens implant substances in them and return them to normal life. And now we're centering on that scar on his forehead.
But we've had nothing, like, that's been none of the focus. It's been the arm the whole time. And okay, now the scar is how we got that.
He dropped the bagel and he ended because he got the hand thing. That's long ago. It's just it's weird. It's not great. It really isn't. Nothing.
It feels rushed, but we are left with nothing. Like, I'm left with nothing memorable at all.
People would say, "Oh, the kids are gems," but nobody's a gem. Nobody's a gem.
There's no sparkle here.
No, there isn't. Have you? I know you have kept up with this.
I'll be honest.
Does it get better?
Honest. Listen, I fell asleep when I read this the first time, and I can't really remember what happened. I'm on chapter 3. I couldn't tell you what's been happening.
And there's 4 chapters out, right?
Yep.
That any others that you're behind like that?
It's not been very memorable.
Yeah, really. I'm telling you. Any other? You read the Akane Banashi? You keeping up with that?
I'm keeping up with everything.
Yeah. This is not good.
No.
So there you go. Not a certified banger.
2 bros.
We're just 2 bros. We just don't like it.
It is what it is. It is not very good.
You hear us yell and scream, and good old Luca over here, he doesn't like to upset people. But what would you give it?
Not a great score for me now. You know me.
You can't go your normal regular score. I have read chapters that you have given a 7 out of 10. And this is no 7 out of 10. I mean, this is not well done at all. Really isn't.
I'm thinking 6.5.
Okay, so there is, and you're very positive. I'm going 4 out of 10. I don't even like the art. I think I'm giving it a benefit. I think I'm being positive. That's how much. And it's one of those where, yeah, we're yelling a bit and, talking about it, but I have nothing. I get done. I think that I have just got a handful of Zoloft.
No redeeming qualities.
I'm in my mouth. I just took Zoloft where I'm whatever, dude. I'm shrugging. No. That I have no feelings towards it, and not even good or bad. I ended up finishing. I'm I have no connection at all.
Zero.
At the end, I just ended up really. This is two men involved. When you end up shining things to get people's memory wiped because of alien, you can't do that. You got to do something clever of your own. And you didn't do it. You didn't set up anything. It's such a deal. Maybe the play here, and this is just me guessing and things like that, we have had wave after wave of books on Shonen Jump that our biggest problem is they never get to anything. They end up, twiddling their thumbs.
The opposite then.
Maybe this is one of those where they have now said, you really got to get to it. And this is the opposite, equally bad.
We're in such a rush to get to where we're going. We don't know who we are. We don't know what's going on.
And yet we can point out, I said, even Jujutsu Kaisen, going with something in a similar vibe of a person ending up having something they didn't realize and then going off to join a team like this. That's basically the whole con. You end up Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen. They end up in that first chapter. You're like, holy crap! I really want to follow these deals. Denji is oh my god, I feel so bad for him, and he's been all
There's
these
no
bad things. I hope that he could get something, and you really like him. You have no connection to Tatsumi at all in my mind.
I kind of wish that light was a little bit closer to the screen so we could see that as well and wipe our memories.
I looked at it. I don't remember. You fell asleep. I mean, seriously, I think you got hit by the light 17 times.
Like halfway through this, I got hit by the light. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, even like something that's not, big, but something that was set up right away. They were like, oh my God, like Magie Lumiere. This whole deal where you get a bunch of characters. This doesn't have that many characters. You really had a lot of page space to set up the main character that's assuming to be somebody likable. It's not likable. You can't just tell me because he raises his younger brother and sister that he's likable because of that. We don't know anything.
He does the jobs.
It never does anything. You never get anything. Yeah. You could have had, again, it's not pushing forward as fast, but maybe you needed to see him struggling with these jobs and have that shaking hand and
see
something
him in
happen.
School, putting off doing his sports because he needs to do the job.
That's the weird play. In this, what is that connection? He actually was good enough. What sport? I have no clue. He got a sports scholarship.
Badminton.
So he's an athletic guy. But what sport and what does that mean? Is that helping him? Is that doing something? I don't know. It basically, how about if he was a basketball player and all of a sudden he's there? You can play like a teen wolf.
Slam dunks all the time.
But he's like, oh my God, what just happened? Oh my God, they're going to know this. Like that sort of thing. If they find out, they're going to take my brother and sister away from me. Oh my God, I got to quit.
But I got to win the tournament.
Yeah, or that. Or I'm saying he's just like, even that you get that, I'm not going to go for the scholarship. And in the deal, you have to figure it out yourself that it seems to be because he can't go to college. He has to raise his brother and sister. But you never really get that. I would have liked to have had some, things to set
for
this
a guy
up and
that's
see
all about,
that he's a good guy.
His family and all about the kids. It doesn't really show a lot of, when we're having the family shenanigans, there's not a lot of love there.
No.
And when they're in danger, yeah, he gets worried. But at that stage,
normal.
That's page 50. We should be, as you were saying, we should be fearing for them. We should be fully connected, fully on board. We're just going through the motions, Yeah. We're just getting to the end of the page and having zero connection.
And his brother and sister are just, they're props.
Props. They don't feel like characters. Nobody feels like a character in this. It's just the staple, the stock character that we use to get to where we're going.
Instead of the backpack nonsense, say that, at the beginning they're playing hide and go seek, and you end up where the little brother, Taro, he always loses. The sister finds him all the time. And then at the end, where he's going to go come on, Taro, go and play hide and seek. And he's like, but I always lose. And you might get some feels there. You might get some feels, something. But when that's going on, the sister, she seems out for the count. I didn't even know at the end, did she die? Because you never really see her.
You don't really see her.
No, they don't really do much with her then.
The kid is definitely looking in that light, so he's done. Yeah. We don't need to worry about him.
He's got a scrambled brain anyway. Even,
what's that light going to do? It's already not a lot of brain cells up there.
Funny, he shines the light now. He's Einstein.
Whoa.
It actually goes all the way around and makes him a genius. I don't know, but nonsense. But yeah, I'm a 4. You're a 6.5. 6.5 for you is like a 1.
That's not great. That's not good.
That. But I do promise after all this, we do have a banger next week. I have not read it yet. I haven't read any of these, but it is what, Luke? Because we can announce that right now.
Next
what
week
we'll be doing
is slightly hotter off the presses because we're going forward.
But it won't be next week because that's another week away. So it's still Luke. It's Luke Hollywood Warm. We'll like to call it because we're on holiday. But what is it?
Next week we are doing the banger. Certified club hit, Rory Dragon. My goodness.
Yeah, and I see a lot of people liking that, so I'm really excited about that.
Everybody's talking about it down at the malt shop.
Down at the malt shop, they are. They're like, hey, you have that Rory Dragon? I said, I don't know if you're just hitting on me or you're buying me a malt. I don't know what's going on. But even with that, everybody, as we go off, we are going to head off to Jason's Anime Corner to finish things up. But before we do go into that, me and you bid everybody adieu. Go over to our Twitter at Weird Manga. Follow us, we'll follow you back, and then go to our Patreon, patreon.com/WeirdScienceManga, where you'll get a bunch of things right now. And at the early access of the reading clubs, we're going to have to get those back in track because we had to go to the well a bit with Luke's long vacation. So we'll end up with that. But you really can still go and get a bunch of the early access to the Manga Monday show like this one. This is going hot off the press right into the regular feed, but in the meantime, we have a bunch of bangers waiting there. I think 9 now is what we have early access to them, and most of them, I think, if not all, we actually really like. This is
we're not usually these much negative Nancy's.
No, this is one of the anomaly of the deal. We usually are pretty positive, but I'm not going to fake the funk and pretend that this is good. That I like it. I mean, if this was a normal deal, we could, let's not do that, but that's not how we play it. We end up hot up the presses. You have to do it. And it kind of harkens back to ITLC. I flipped out on that one, too.
We never know what we're going to get. Oh, jeez.
I don't think this is going to last. Unless it really picks up, I think that this is a U19.
The idea, like a sci-fi, is something fresh. We don't have a lot of sci-fi,
do something fresh, then.
This is stale. This is a foundation of sand.
It is. It's a foundation of nonsense. It's a foundation of Men in Black, and that was pretty good.
Solid foundation, but give us something fresh on top.
Something, please. And work it out, And in that, it is funny because you remember the Men in Black deal is that Will Smith's character ends up chasing down an alien, almost taking it down. Nobody's been able to do that. Kind of even in this, where it's like, you end up having Tatsumi fighting the alien. They come in, so it's so much. Even without the big tropes, look into the light, neighbors and things. It's just so much like too close. So with all that, like I said, we're going to say goodbye here, but we're going to go off to Jason's Anime Corner, which I would love to tell you. I mean, I don't really need to say what it is because you're going to find out in just a second as I desperately try to figure out what it is. It's Heroines Run the Show. Unlike in my hometown of Quakertown, where heroin runs the show. It's not a great show. No, Heroines Run the Show. We're going to do that, but
alien in that area.
Me and Luke are going to get out of here. So I'm going to play the not so Manga Monday and exit. I can't even talk now, but everybody, thanks for joining me, Luke, and off to Jason to finish up the show.
Hello to all you manga-loving, idol-worshipping weirdos. As I record this, the spring anime season is rapidly drawing to a close. But before it goes, I want to draw your attention to a little show that hasn't gotten as much notice as I think it deserves. This being Heroines Run the Show, which has the Harry Potter-esque subtitle, The Unpopular Girl and the Secret Task, which has just wrapped up its 12-episode run on Crunchyroll. But first, a brief aside. I promise it's relevant. I don't know how many of you use the website My Anime List, also known as MAL, to keep track of your shows, but it's a useful tool. It lets you save watch lists and rate shows, and also provides a ton of data about every anime that has come out or is about to come out. One piece of data that My Anime List tracks is source, meaning in what form of media did the IP of the show first appear. Typical sources are manga or light novels, or sometimes it's just original. Well, the source for Heroines Run the Show is given as music, which I had never seen before. So I did a little Googling, which took me down a cozy Japanese rabbit hole. It seems that the two-person idol group Lip Lip, written as Lip X Lip, like Hunter x Hunter or Spy x Family, was created as a, quote, virtual idol group, which has released songs and music videos since about 2016 as part of some expanded universe called the Confession Executive Committee. There seems to be a whole complex fictional world here of music and novels and feature films and webcomics, most of which has never been translated into English. But unless you, like me, enjoy getting lost in fan wikis, you don't have to worry about any of that, as this one anime series makes sense entirely on its own. In Heroines Run the Show, remember, that is the show we're talking about, our protagonist is Hiyori Suzumi, just a small-town girl living in a lonely world who catches a midnight train to a big-time Tokyo high school to pursue her athletic track star dreams. Her subtitles are presented with a lot of dropped final G's. You know, runnin' instead of running, singin' instead of singing, that kind of thing. I presume this is supposed to reflect her Japanese country accent. She is a positive, high-energy, go-get-'em kind of girl fitting pretty neatly in the Genki stereotype. Her most striking physical features are her big, expressive eyebrows. The plot of this show really kicks off when Hiyori's family suffers a setback and runs into difficulty paying for her to live and go to school on her own in Tokyo. Hiyori volunteers to get a part-time job to support her own expenses, but has difficulty finding one that she's both qualified for and that will work around her commitments to school and track. She sees one cryptic job listing that calls for organizational and event planning skills, listing flexible hours and a pay rate of 1,500 yen per hour. There are many applicants for the position, but her energy and attitude impress the two women interviewing her. They ask her one final question. Do you have any favorite pop idols? Her answer is, absolutely not. She thinks she's blown the interview, but she soon gets the call that she has the job. That job being manager in training for an idol group. That idol group being Lip Lip. The two idols comprising that group being Yujiro and Aizo, two of her very own Tokyo high school classmates. At this point, your basic, wacky, semi-realistic school day adventures ensue. Hiyori has to learn to get along with the idols who call her mean things like potato face. And they don't much get along even with each other. She has to deal with keeping her job secret from all their other classmates. She has to deal with minor adversity in her athletic pursuits, that sort of thing. About halfway through the season, her relationships with the idols start to turn, and they even take her out shopping. This is where we get one of Jim's most favorite tropes, the fashion show montage, as the sophisticated urban idols give Hiyori the Hick a full hair, makeup, and clothing makeover. For me, the most compelling aspect of the show is its view into Japanese idol culture, particularly the relationship between idols and fans. We see Lip Lip fans who get obsessed with their idols, and how the idols and their management team specifically encourage this. Now, if this had been an American show, we'd surely get a subplot about unhealthy parasocial relationships and toxic fandom. But in this Japanese show, the idols are shown as being a completely positive role in the lives of the girls who obsess over them. I'm not saying that I 100% go along with this take, but part of the fun of anime and manga is getting to see things through different cultural eyes. For anthropological and sociological reasons, at least, I'd recommend giving this show a shot. The characters are light and fun, and the music, while not holding a candle to her friend Chuchu, isn't half bad. I watched the show in Japanese with subtitles, but now there's a dubbed version too, so viewer's choice there. That is all I have to say about Heroines Run the Show. It's time to get prepared for the big summer 2022 season, so if there are any of you out there who have upcoming anime you're particularly excited about, please consider letting me know, and I'll be sure to check them out.